Hello, welcome to episode 76 of the Fluffy Fibres podcast, the French podcast in English on sewing and knitting, a handmade wardrobe from head to toe. Hello friends, I do hope you're all doing really well and thank you so much for joining me today. I am Isabelle and I am coming to you from Montpellier in southern France, where it is currently very sunny, so I am actually filming this just after the previous episode, and quite funnily enough it was quite cloudy in the previous episode and then now it's very sunny and lovely actually. So yes, you can find me on Instagram as Fluffy Fibres, and you can find the show notes for the podcast on fluffyfibres.com, and sometimes I manage to blog as well over there about my sewing especially. So today's episode 76, is going to be devoted once more to my sewing because as I explained in the previous episode, when I was writing up my show notes to share all my sewing, I had so much to share that I just realised I needed to split the content into 2 episodes, and so this is the second half, the second part, and so this is going to be devoted to my most recent makes, those that are definitely geared towards my the coldest time of the year, so late autumn and winter really. And also I'm going to show you what I'm currently sewing on, and then I'm going to share my future plans, and I have quite a lot of them because, as I was sharing in episode 75, I have been so inspired with sewing over the past few months, really the last half of 2019 I should say, and I'm very happy about that because knitting is extremely relaxing, but sewing fulfills me in, no other hobby fulfills me in the way sewing does. Like, it's just, and also because, I sew here in this small room that I'm so lucky to have, and it's just my little heaven on earth here really. I can see roofs through the window, the blue sky, and I listen to audio podcasts when I'm sewing, not necessarily sewing or knitting podcasts, but also like philosophical podcasts or anything, lots of different content really. Yeah, it's just my break from the world, my break from my worries and my all my tasks and to-dos, and I'm incredibly grateful for this. And yeah, I've been super inspired. I've been wanting to make so many things, and actually I think one of the major reasons for this huge inspiration is the beautiful fabrics that I have been using and inspired by this year. So as I was sharing the previous episode, and this episode again is going to be quite heavily featuring Lise Daly's fabric. This is from Lise Daly, this is also from Lise Daly, and I think it actually has been playing a huge part in this spurt of creativity for me. Because I absolutely love her fabrics, and it's just, I can see so many possibilities of clothes with her fabric. Also there have been such lovely patterns coming out, especially in the sewing, in the French sewing community, of course also in the English speaking community, but at the moment I've been especially inspired by French designers. So I hope you find this interesting as well, because you may not necessarily know of these designers if you don't speak French. So yeah, I hope this brings you something in this respect. So today's episode will be my cup of tea, which is actually the same as previously, but I did warm it up between episodes. A handmade wardrobe, and then my finished projects covering October and November. My current little project, and then all my future plans. So for my cup of tea, I'm still drinking the same thing, which is this Rooibos déveiné from Le Palais d'été. So it's a blend of rooibos and vanilla and almond. And I did warm up my cup because of course it had grown quite cold, but it is half finished, so that's quite good actually. I didn't let it, go completely cold. So yeah, so this is really quite warming, and I just love this very, very much. So in terms of a handmade wardrobe, what I'm wearing today, I'm wearing a cardigan that I love, that I finished earlier this year in January or December or something like that, and it is my Alice cardigan by Marianne Munier, who is Margonnet Designs on Instagram and Ravelry, and so she is a French knitting designer. She designs so many garments, and I love her aesthetic, and I really love this particular garment. So it is an open front cardigan, which works quite well for me actually for the layering that I need to do in Montpellier. And yeah, and it has this beautiful braided edging, which is achieved by cables. And then you have an I-cord edging, which is it's beautifully finished. And I made the sleeves quite long so that it was really quite cozy for winter. I knit this in Dererum Natura in Penelope, which is their blend of 90% merino and 10% silk, and it's worsted span, not woolen span. Most of their yarns are like Gilliatt, Ulysse, Cyrano. They are woolen span, so they're more puffy, but this one is worsted span, so it's a lot slinkier, should I say, or a lot more sleek really, and a little bit shiny as well. And so yeah, it's more elegant in a way, I guess. And so yeah, and I made it in a very neutral tone so that it goes with a lot of my clothes, and indeed here it goes very well with my dress, as you can see. And the dress is the Suun dress by PM Patterns, and I made it out of Liz Taylor's mistletoe fabric, which is her latest fabric for this year, and her last fabric for this year actually. So yeah, very Christmassy, very wintry, and I absolutely love it. But this will be one of the garments I share later today. So first of all, I wanted to share a few things that I made for my children. And actually all of the things that I made them are from the same designer, from Ikatee, who is Stéphanie, who lives in Lyon. And yeah, so I absolutely love. You know, if you follow me on Instagram, or if you've watched previous episodes, you know how much I love her designs for children. So I first and foremost made this blouse for my daughter. So this is the Stella blouse. So I actually made this pattern in the summer, in June or late May, to make a dress for my daughter to wear to a wedding. And so yeah, so this is the blouse version with long sleeves this time. So yeah, and the fabric is again Liz Taylor, her One Apple a Day navy fabric, and this is the cotton version, the cotton poplin version. So yeah, so it's such a beautiful fabric, and it was such a joy, a dream to work with. It's so easy to handle. It's got just this right balance of, you know, of drape, and still it's got this body to it, so it's just perfect. It ruffles, like, it, you know, the ruffles, or the gathers, it gathers beautifully. Hopefully you can see this. So yeah, so my daughter loves this very, very much. So the sleeves are elasticated. I can't remember if they are elasticated in the pattern or if I added this so that they would be easier to handle for my daughter. I can't remember. But I quite like, for long sleeves that are quite balloony like this, that are quite wide, I quite like to elasticate the ends so that it doesn't get in the way really. The one change I did is that you're supposed to have, so you have this beautiful keyhole opening here, which is finished with bias tape on the inside, so it's the bias tape is used as facing for very clean finish, and you have the same for the neckline. But here what I did differently is that here this is supposed to be closed with a button, but I learned the hard way, or rather my daughter learned the hard way, that the buttons to close up her blouses in the back are not a good idea, because she has very, very long hair, so she typically wears her hair in a long braid, and so hair is going to get caught in there, and because it's very, very long, it gets really tangled quite badly, and it's pretty much impossible to disentangle. So I now, every time there's this kind of finish, I now do some ties. And so here, since you have the bias tape as a facing in the okay, let me get rid of this hanger. So yeah, since you have so you see the edging is finished with a bias tape facing. So you use bias tape as a facing, like you would for, you know, regular for a facing pattern, which I love. I love this kind of finish. And so here, instead of cutting the facing, the bias tape, you know, so that it would be finished at the edge, I just cut a much longer end for at both sides, so that the ties are actually continuous with this bias tape finish. So yeah. I really like it, and yes, I had fun with the with my bias tape here. I used this matching these matching dots for the. It's actually quite okay. Let me adjust this a little. It's a bit too bright. Okay, there you go. This should be better. So yeah, yeah, I had this fuchsia polka dot. A tiny little bit of fuchsia polka dot bias tape from a very, I think, yeah, I had this bias tape from when my daughter was born, or when I was making things before she was born, actually. Like I made her a bath cape lined with this, actually, and some little washcloths as well that were lined with this bias tape. So I had this tiny little bit left, and I just felt it was so cute and it would really work well. Of course, it's on the inside, so you don't really see it. And then I did buy this because I didn't have anything matching in my stash, so I did buy this green, which matches this these leaves here. Hopefully you can see this. Yes, it matches this sleeve here. So yeah. So yeah, my daughter is quite taken with her blouse. There's something else also that I changed, is that instead, so you're supposed to, for these ruffles, you are supposed to turn them under and hem them, but I decided to do a lettuce edging on my serger, because my serger does a beautiful lettuce edging, so I felt, you know, why not use it? And also it added, again, this fuchsia touch here. So yeah, this is quite lovely on her. She's got a very cool colouring like me, and blue eyes and very dark hair, so this navy really does work really well for her. So yes, that's one thing I made for my daughter. After that, I made some little trousers for my son. So he has a few Cordoba trousers by Ikatee in the 2-use size that he's been wearing, and he wore them quite a bit because, yeah, they were quite long at the beginning, but because you have cuffs, it's quite forgiving. Even if they're too long, he's not going to trip on them or anything. And so I made him another pair in the 3-year size, because the 2-year size was getting too short. And Ikatee patterns, I feel, tend to run rather long, especially for the baby clothes. It's not so much the case for the children's clothing. Like my daughter pretty much fits her age in the Ikatee range in terms of length, definitely not in terms of width. She is a lot more slender than the template that Ikatee uses. So I typically make, like, I think for this I cut a size 6 year. She's almost 8 and she wears 8 year clothes in ready to wear. So I cut a 6 year for the width, but an 8 year for the length actually. And so here actually the same for my son. So he is 3 years old. And so this is a 3-year length, but it was so much way too big. So I actually reduced it to the 2-year width. So I know now that if I want to make him some more of these, I have to keep this these measurements. So yeah, as you can see, this is a very, very soft sweatshirt fabric with little, like, I don't know how well you will see that, but the little flashes here are actually so, you know, slightly shiny. Not sure how well you will see this, but yeah, they are slightly shiny. But it's very, very soft on the inside. It's brushed cotton. And yeah, and so I used this matching ribbing for the waist and the cuffs. So this goes together so fast. This design is just so super fast. And I apologise, yes, it is a bit grubby because he actually was playing with clay yesterday and with Play-Doh yesterday, and he got some stuck on his trousers, but yeah, you know, that's life. I was about to wash these, obviously, but yeah, that is the life of a little boy, you know. So yes, I also made for my daughter something that she had long been requesting. So you may recall that in the late spring I made a little Grand Ourse jacket for my son with little bunny ears on the hood, and I really made this in provision to, you know, for autumn, and he has been wearing it very, very much. And my daughter, ever since I made this for her brother, had been asking for a jacket in the same pattern as well. So I made her a waterproof jacket, actually a raincoat. So here is the little raincoat I made for my daughter. Yes, so I made this in a coated cotton, so it is waterproof, and then it is lined with white organic jersey that I had in my stash. So it's quite cozy because of the jersey lining, and Stephanie of Ikatee does that a lot for her samples. When she sews samples of her designs, she typically lines like a woven fabric with a jersey fabric, and it does give this lovely cozy finish to it. So yeah, and I think it's really, really fresh with the you know, the aqua fabric with little white stars and then the white cuffs. So yeah, the arms are supposed to be, so the arms are actually really long, purposefully long, so that you fold them over so that you can see the contrasting cuff, which is a lovely detail. And yeah, so as I shared on Instagram in my stories, when I finished this, I was so happy with myself when I made this. Because it, you know, it had been cut out for months before I finally tackled it, and then of course it was very quick to sew, but I made a mistake, which is that the ears should have been on the, you know, the other way. So this is actually the wrong way up. So this should be they should be laying the other way up, as you can see, since you have this lovely detail here. So yeah, but I was a bit upset, but again, yeah, I really debated finishing, undoing it, but actually you do this quite early on in the process, and then you sew everything together and line everything, and bag the jacket, and so it would have involved either unpicking quite a lot of the jacket, or just unpicking them here and then restitching them. But I was very worried to damage the coated fabric. So, you know, coated cotton is quite tricky to work with. Like, you can't, like, it's very, like, typically you can't pin it, for instance. So what I use for this is this kind of clip to, instead of pinning, so that you don't damage the fabric. Otherwise, it's, you know, if you just make little holes in the fabric and it's no longer waterproof. So I was concerned of this kind of a problem if I would, you know, unstitch it and stitch it again, so from the outside. So I left it as it is. My daughter has no clue. She didn't realise, so that's what matters. She's very happy about this. So yeah, only you and me know. But there is this problem. I'm a bit upset about it, but it's fine. So yeah, she loves it. She's super, super cute in it. And for the buttons, I used snaps, like anorak snaps that I had never used before. I hadn't used snaps before, but not this kind of, you know, outerwear snap. And actually, the brand here is a French brand, very local to here actually, because they are in the suburbs of Montpellier, near the sea, and they are from Mercerie Rascol, which is a very, very well-known haberdashery shop, online shop in France. A lot of fellow makers in France, you know, use their website as well. And I always get the orders super fast because it's so nearby. You can actually go there and fetch your order locally so that you don't have to pay for shipping, but it's you can only reach them by car, and I don't drive, so yeah, I still have my orders sent to me. But yeah, so they are really good snaps actually, and really good quality, yeah, so you can see. And the reason why I picked those is that I was watching a podcast, a vlog in French by Nathalie. Coucou Nathalie, si tu me regardes. So she is Atelier 292.b. And she, yeah, she's from Belgium, and she is a huge source of inspiration for me. Yeah, she also has been a reason why I have been so inspired by my sewing. She and also Alice du Lapin d'Alice. Coucou Alice. But yeah, they make such beautiful, you know, they sew such beautiful garments, and they have French podcasts that are hugely inspiring. And so she made a Kelly anorak by Closet Case Patterns, and she mentioned that she used the snaps by Rascal, and that they were quite easy to open and close. So I felt that was really good for my daughter actually. That they, you know, because she would be able to close them, to snap them shut very easily herself at school and so on. So that is the Grand Ourse pattern by Ikatee. So she used to have only the baby's version, but so many people asked for a kid's version, so she also created the pattern for kids. From 4 to 12, I think. Actually, this is much longer. This is really a raincoat, so it's much longer than my son's little jacket. You can even make like bathrobes out of this, which I really want to make someday for my children. That would be so cute with the little rabbit ears. But yeah, and actually my daughter has asked for Christmas that I make her the same jacket as her brother. So the shorter jacket in the same kind of fabric, but in navy blue. So so yes, it's a very, very cozy, very warm fabric, which has this suede outer layer, and then this very fluffy faux fur on the inside. So yes, she has requested this for Christmas. So hopefully I still have time to make this for her. But it's December 9th today, so I think I can manage this, especially this version would be unlined because it's a two-sided fabric, so it's very, very fast to make. So that is it for my children's garments, and then I made the dress that you can see in the background and that I will be showing in videos as well, which is the Simplicity H946. It's from the new collection, from this year's autumn-winter collection, and yeah, so it is. So the silhouette is very simple, definitely what I like in a dress, since it has a rather fitted bodice and then a full skirt. So yeah, so you have variations with long sleeves, short sleeves, or sleeveless, and then you have this little Peter Pan collar. That was a bit much for my own taste, but it's rather cute, really. So yes, so this is the dress I made out of Lise Taylor's Falling Flowers in her maroon shade, which is violin in French. And so this fabric was part of her first collection last year, a year ago, and when I received my order last year, I had ordered 3 fabrics from her, and funnily enough, this fabric wasn't like the one I was most excited about when I ordered it, but when I received the order, this just was so gorgeous. And because of that, because it was so precious, it took me a whole year to decide what I would make with it. And believe me, I think I changed my mind. Like, I really made up my mind fully, and then eventually changed up my mind. Changed my mind like 6 or 7 times as to what I would make with it. You know, what blouse or dress or anyway. And I eventually made this dress, and the reason why I made this dress is that I knew this was a silhouette that would work for me. And so I knew there was very little room for error here. And also I'm very used to simplicity patterns, because before the indie designers developed, I used to sew a lot from Vogue, Simplicity, McCall's, etc., but especially New Look and Simplicity. And so I know exactly what, you know, how they work, my kind of size. You know, I was really quite familiar with you know, their instructions and so on. So this was a very easy and very smooth process. So it has a zipper at the back, an invisible zipper at the back, and you have this detail of buttons at the sleeve. Actually, I do have to work them again, because so you need to add a little closure thread for a little thread for the closure. I added some elastic thread, but it gave out on one sleeve, so I need to work on that rather soon. But yeah, I love this dress so much. I just love wearing it, and I love this colour. I didn't think I would love this colour quite so much on me, but actually I really like it. So yeah, I really do love this very much. And actually I have plans to knit a cardigan for this. Actually, I mentioned this in episode 74. I showed some skeins of John Arbon in a mauve pink that actually matches this quite well, this shade here. And so yeah, I'm going to make a cardigan to go over this very soon. Actually, it's definitely one of the projects I plan on casting on in the foreseeable future. So more recently, I made the dress I'm currently wearing, which is from a pattern that is incredibly popular in France, in the French sewing community, and with good reason, because it's a beautiful pattern. So it is the Suun blouse and dress by PM Patterns. So here is the pattern envelope for you. So it's quite large actually, it's A4, an A4 format, which I really like actually, because it's quite easy to put everything back in once you're done. But yeah, so as you can see in the drawing here, in the technical drawings, you have this, so it's a loose-fitting blouse with either long sleeves or tiny little sleeves, yeah, but the reason why this is so popular and so easily, like, when I scroll through my Instagram feed, it's very easy to spot a Suun blouse, because most people have made it as a blouse actually, because it was initially designed as a blouse, as you can see, but then you do have this possibility to lengthen it into a dress. And so yes, it's this very peculiar here, very distinctive neckline, so V, wide V, and then these beautiful gathers here, and the fact that the back yoke, reaches to the front. So hopefully you will be able to see this. But yeah, it reaches to the front, but it runs all around the back. And so you have the possibility also of accenting this with some piping, which I did. So you can see here also in the back. And so, yeah, so you may recall that this is the third time this year that I have sewn a PM patterns pattern. So I made a mom blouse in the spring, and then in the early summer I made a Josephine dress, long dress in green, and every single time I'm so impressed with the level of instructions, the details, and you know, the finishing that the designer has you do, and so that you are left with a beautifully finished garment inside and out. And it's the exact opposite experience from, you know, the Robson coat that I mentioned in my previous episode. You are handheld from beginning to end. Every single time you may have the tiniest doubt as to what to do, the next sentence puts you in the right direction, so that it's just such an enjoyable sewing experience. And so yeah, so you have 3 possible necklines, so 3 depths of neckline, depending on the style you want, obviously, whether you want a more lower cut, whether you want a lower cut dress or blouse or not, but also depending on your stature, your build, which is quite useful. And so for smaller people, she advises for the higher neckline, which is what I did, and I think it's absolutely perfect for me. It's not too wide, not too high, not too low. It's just right, I think. So yeah, and yeah, I love the piping here. I love the gathers. It went together so easily. It was such a lovely experience. So the one thing I did differently, a couple of things I did differently actually, was first for the sleeves. You are supposed to finish the sleeves with some a bracelet, like a little band, but the sleeves were quite big were quite long on me, which is understandable because I'm very short. But also, you know, I had recently made my blouse, my daughter's blouse, and really liked this elasticized wrist, and so that's wristband, and so that's what I did as well here, so that it's, you know, it's just doesn't get in the way. And also I love it because it means when you're putting on a cardigan or a jacket, your sleeve just doesn't right up, so that's quite enjoyable as well. And the only other thing I did differently was in terms of the elastic for the waist. First of all, I raised it to meet my natural waist, because this is what works best for me on my stature, on my figure. And also, yeah, the instructions have you know, just pin the elastic and, you know, pull on it as you sew it down with a zigzag stitch on the inside. And because this is a very precious fabric, I just felt it might actually damage the fabric to do this, both when sewing it up and also when wearing it, because it would add a lot of stress to this to this part of the fabric actually. So what I did instead was I sewed a channel. So I actually, not so as not to waste any fabric, because I didn't use the you know, the wristbands. I actually used them. I sewed them up together so as to have a channel that I sewed to the inside. And with just a small opening to thread the elastic through, and this makes for, I think, a much better finish for this particular instance, I think. Also, I always feel when you're pulling on a bit, you know, some elastic to sew it down, it's quite difficult to control absolutely everything in the sewing process, and so you might not be quite straight, you know, sewing quite straight. So here I know it was very easy to sew, of course, because you insert the elastic afterwards once you've sewn everything down. So it is perfectly parallel to the, you know, to the floor actually. So yes, and the main difference, the main change I did was in terms of the style. So I used them, so you have 2 lengths for the dress, a very long length and a midi length, a maxi length and a midi length, and I did the midi length, but I lengthened it by I think 7 centimeters. And then once I was done with the skirt, with the dress actually, I realised I would really like to have a ruffle at the bottom. And actually, this I forgot to say, but this particular fabric I did not purchase. It was a very, very generous gift from Lise herself, so it was even more special to sew up. And actually, she gave me an incredibly generous cut. So I think it was a little over 2 meters, I think. And so I had just enough fabric to cut out a large ruffle for the bottom of the skirt. And I think it just gives the perfect touch to this dress. I absolutely adore wearing this. I love it so much. I love the fabric. I love the green. I just love this shade very much. I think it's so elegant. And so yeah, this is special on so many counts. And honestly, when I received this, I felt like I just didn't need any Christmas gift this year, and I really mean it. I just don't. I mean, I have this beautiful fabric. I made it into this dress, which I will be wearing over Christmas with my family for sure. So yeah, what more could I wish for, right? But yeah, and I actually don't know if you can see, but I have earrings that match the lighter leaves here, so yeah, that worked out so well, all in all. Right, so I did make a couple of things very, very recently, over the past couple of weeks. So the first one is this little skirt, this little ruffled skirt from another fabric from Lise that I purchased from her spring and summer collection. So it is in the Blue Meadow, and she recently reissued this print with more autumnal palettes. So in the Green Meadow. I wonder if I didn't say in the Blue Meadow, but no, it's in the Green Meadow. And actually, funnily enough, when I received it, I saw it as blue and not green, but now I definitely see it as green and not blue. It's very, very funny the way your perspective can shift this way. But yeah, it's definitely more green than blue. Yeah, so for this I actually followed a tutorial from a French maker on Instagram. She has this in her stories, in her highlights. And so what I liked about her tutorial, I did lengthen the skirts quite a bit from her instructions because I wanted to be able to wear this to work. What I liked about her tutorial was that you had so you finish both edges of the ruffle, the bottom ruffle, and then you sew it wrong side against the right side of the upper panel, so that you have you actually see the edging. And I think I really like this detail. So yes, and I think I used a much deeper elastic, a much wider elastic for the waistband. I did line the outer part of the fabric. I did line the outer part, the upper part of the skirt. So yeah, as you can see here, the bottom ruffle isn't lined, and then I used this viscose for the main panel to make sure it wasn't see-through. This is a beautiful viscose. It's a different kind of viscose from this. Actually, all three fabrics that you can see on the screen are a different kind of weave of viscose. So this is a more like regular viscose, what you expect when you think of viscose. Like a plainer weave, a little bit silky, but not too far away from, a typical like woven cotton in a way, in the weave anyway. But here you have this lovely, it's a dotted Swiss fabric. Hopefully you can see the texture. So it's very subtle, but it's quite nice. And then this particular fabric is crepe. So it's viscose crepe, and so it's a completely different kind of weave. It's very lovely to wear actually. It's a very precious kind of fabric. I don't know, it looks like a precious fabric to me. But it is a lot more difficult to sew because it's a lot less stable, and But yeah, I mean, you know, it's part of the beauty of the fabric, really. But yeah, it's a completely different weaving process here. So once I was done with this, I realised I didn't have any top that quite matched it. I mean, you know, I could wear some white with it, but it wasn't quite right, was it? So I finished this last Sunday, actually. And I had already cut it out, and I finished sewing it on Sunday morning while everyone else was still sleeping. And so later that day, I rummaged through my deep stash of fabric, and I found the perfect cut of cotton jersey in my stash to make a t-shirt. And it matches so perfectly. So hopefully this will catch on camera, because cameras have a hard time with this kind of colour. I think it is picking up much bluer than it really is. It is a true green. I know this because I had a real hard time adjusting my pictures for my Instagram post where I shared this this outfit. But yeah, so it is really, really green and not blue as it is showing right now. So yeah, and of course, because I wanted something that I knew would work and fit me well and be a no-brainer to make, I made another Agnes top, another Agnes tee. So yes, I made the balloon sleeves this time, the leg of mutton sleeves that I really like very much. But yeah, so it's a really lovely little outfit that I have now, and I love wearing this so much. It's just so cheerful and so cute. So that is it for everything I've been making over the past 4 months, and you know, especially in this episode over the past 2 months. And I wanted to share what I've been making right now. So I have just cut out, and actually my daughter is helping me along, and actually she cut the fabric out. She loves cutting out fabric, unlike me. So we have been cutting out some fabric to make pencil zipper pouches for my best friend's children, whom we love very, very much. So they are the same age as my children, since they are twins who were born the same year as my daughter, and then a little girl who is just a little younger than my son. So they all adore one another. So we decided to make zipper pouches, like flat zipper pouches. So I just pinned this down with so this is going to be the outer fabric, and so actually this is a fabric that you can colour, which hence the black and white, and so we are also going to we are also purchased some felt pens that are specially designed for fabric. They are water-based, but they are designed for fabric. So you colour your fabric and then you iron it to fix the shade, the colours, and then you have a lovely fabric that you coloured yourself. So we are going to send them the pens so that they can colour their own zipper pouches, and then put some pencils or felt pens in them. So the outer fabric is the same for all of them, and we're also making one for my son. Actually, this is going to be my daughter's gift to my son for Christmas. And so yeah, but the fabric inside is going to be different. So this pink is going to be for the smallest girl with this zipper. Then this purple is going to be for the girl who is my daughter's age with this purple zipper. And then the other twin, who is a boy, who is also my daughter's age, is going to have this yellow with stars. We all used fabric from my stash with this with this yellow zipper. Actually, this is the one I'm currently making. And then my son is going to get this red zipper with the same yellow, because he loves red. So yeah, we felt that this would be quite fun and cheery. And he doesn't have a zippered pen pouch yet. And he's really taking an interest in drawing and colouring at the moment. So I think he's going to be really excited about this. So yes, I have to make them rather fast. I have been having huge problems with sewing machines lately, so hopefully I will be able to make this soon. But yeah, this is my current project that I want to finish rather soon. But also I'm making this with my daughter, so I have to allow for this. So yes, and in terms of future plans, so again, my major inspirations in terms of future plans have been Alice from Lapin d'Alice and Nathalie from Atelier 92.B, BE, and yeah, so both of these amazing makers use a lot of Atelier Scämmit patterns, and Atelier Scämmit is Joanna, who is in France. And so I, since I wasn't able to go to the show that I was supposed to go to in Paris, I actually purchased these from Mercerie Rascol in very near Montpellier. And so my future plans are first and foremost this blouse, Envol. So as you can see, and I forgot to say this about Ikatee's patterns, but you can purchase Ikatee patterns in English. And here I believe everything is bilingual here as well. PM patterns as well. You just have to make sure you're visiting the English version of the site, and then you can purchase her patterns in English directly. So it's either in French or in English, so do make sure you're not mistakenly purchasing the French version. But yeah, and the same here, so it's completely bilingual. Hopefully you can see this. I'm not sure if it's focusing. But yeah, so this is very loose-fitting blouse, and what is wonderful about Atelier Scämmit is that she is the queen of perfect finishing touches. So you know with her designs that you are going to have a beautiful, beautifully finished blouse or garment or dress. And also what's amazing about her is that she makes videos on YouTube for every single of her designs. She makes a video where she is actually sewing up the garment and explaining what she's doing, so you have an actual live sew along in video, so that you are, you know, even if some of the steps may be tricky, she explains to you how to do them, so that's absolutely wonderful. I do think though the videos are only in French, but I'm not sure actually. But yeah, so with this pattern I'm going to use this amazing print from Atelier Brunette, which I absolutely fell in love with the minute it came out. So it's a bit too light here. So yeah, yeah, I think it's about the right shade. But yeah, it's this beautiful fabric with these constellation of like twigs and like tiniest little stars, and so it is a very, very dark grey. It's not black, it's a very dark grey. And so the accents are in copper, like ochre and silver. So I love it so much. I absolutely love this. And so they came out with 3 variations on this print. There's the blush background, and then ochre background or caramel background, which is absolutely gorgeous as well. But this is definitely what works best for me for my colouring. So I love the blush as well, but I think it would be too light for me. I need some contrast because I have a lot of contrast going on in my face, so I feel I need some contrast as well in my garments. So so yes, so I'm very, very excited about this, and I think it's going to be gorgeous. So yeah, and then with some fabric from Lise, which I haven't sewn yet, from one of her latest collections. Before this collection, she released this beautiful collection which is called Grace, and this is so gorgeous, so gorgeous. And she released this in two backgrounds, a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, like honey background with navy, so the drawings are in navy, and it was incredibly successful. And then this beautiful raspberry shade. And so with this I'm going to sew up a pattern by Slow Sunday, which is called Dorothie, and it's this little blouse. So it's very, very cute, I think, a bit vintage feeling, like 40s vintage. I just love it. And it has these 3/4 sleeves and gathered detail at the shoulders for the bust shaping. And yeah, so I'm quite excited to be making this as well. So something else I want to make also from my last Liz Taylor fabric that I have. So I have 2 fabrics left from her that I haven't sewn yet, and so I purchased this as well quite recently, and it is her navy fabric with little flowers on it. And this is a different process, printing process, from the other fabrics. It's printed in another factory very near from her, and actually it's a very traditional printing process. So I haven't pre-washed this yet, but yeah, let me adjust the lighting again. There you go. So yeah, so it's a little too... Okay, there you go. So it's actually dyed in navy, and then they have a very specific kind of printing that makes the printing quite random. So it makes for a very dynamic kind of print visually, and I really love it. She came out with, she released the first version in lavender in the summer, but I wasn't I didn't get it because I wasn't home at that time. But the navy, so as you can see, the inside is dyed navy as well. The navy I really loved, because I loved sewing my 1 apple a day navy. I realised this colour really worked well for me. So yeah, and so with this I'm going to make a very fun and quite fast design, another French design, which is called I Am Joy. And so it's a very simple blouse, it seems incredibly easy to make, but it's a great way to use, like, to make a beautiful fabric shine. Like, you know, you just focus on the fabric. And so the design element that I like here is the cuffs, the elasticized cuffs that are 3/4 length again, or maybe half sleeves even, half length. But yeah, so I really quite look forward to making this. It looks like a very easy and fun project, so it could be something really nice for, you know, if I have just a bit of time over a weekend, for instance. So yeah, quite an exciting prospect as well. And finally, yes, I wanted to mention the latest Sew Over It PDF pattern, which is the Georgie dress, which I absolutely fell in love with the minute I saw it, and so yeah, I did purchase it. So I'm not sure when I will be making it. It will be perfect for spring, I feel, but yeah, I know I will definitely be making it. So I will be sharing a picture online, but it's got this wrap like bodice, which I love in a jersey dress, and then two variations for the skirt, depending on the kind of fabric that you have. And so they also made it up in a variety of fabrics to show the various options, and it's just so lovely. And so for this, actually, I have quite a few options in my stash. And actually, interestingly, I have a fabric that I purchased from Sew Over It last year. So not this summer, but the previous summer, in a sale that they had, and it is this beautiful viscose jersey. And so yeah, it's completely gorgeous, and so I would love to make a spring version of the Georgie dress in this, and I'm sure I've got enough fabric. So yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Look at these, look at this blue flower here, so beautiful. Yeah, so that's quite exciting, but that won't be for a few months, I think. Yeah, first of all, I really want to focus on making some separates, and especially some tops. Yeah, because I may not have quite enough of them in my wardrobe at the moment, if you can believe that. But yeah, I tend to make a lot of dresses, so yeah, I need a few more separates, I think, in my wardrobe. So yes, I think that is finally it for this packed episode in terms of sewing projects. I do hope you enjoyed, and I do hope you didn't find this too long. I'm sure it's going to be a very, very long episode, this one, so I do apologise if it is really long. But yeah, I do hope you're all doing super well on this very, very late time of the year. I really hope you have a wonderful end of the year. I hope it's not too stressful for you, or it doesn't bring up too many difficult memories or too much sadness. I know it can happen to some of us. It definitely will be challenging for me, but I'm also incredibly grateful to have a very loving family. So I know we will also be having some wonderful moments all together. So yeah, I hope you are not too, your time is not too hectic at this time of the year. And yeah, so until next time, I do hope your making brings you joy. Thanks you so much for watching, friends. Bye bye.